Man, Boston has entered the chat. George Balekji here inside the PNC Bank studio. He's Adam Pellerin at his home base in a site undisclosed, location undisclosed. He keeps it secret because he's the man of mystery. Adam, how are we doing today, my friend?
Pretty good from the bunker, George. Thanks for asking.
Bunker with a lot of natural light coming in. I like it. Hey, we got plenty coming your guys' way today. We're going to go over, obviously, what's been trending throughout sports. With the Red Sox hitting the halfway point and heading into the All-Star break, we both gave our mid-season grades, awards, accolades, who are some of the best players for the team. We'll also talk about the mishap that was the Copa America final down in Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. And then we'll talk some Team USA men's basketball and rank our greatest Olympians, summer Olympians of all time. But Adam, let's get into it with what's trending as of now. Vikings wide receiver Jordan Addison arrested on suspicion of a DUI 5 days after his teammate, who was a rookie, Kyrie Jackson, died in an accident, with the cause of that being a drunk driver. See, Addison was found asleep behind the wheel of his white Rolls Royce on a highway near Los Angeles. Hasn't been released of what his BAC is yet, but this is a rookie that had a driving incident last year, speeding and getting, reckless driving for speeding in his Lambo. And now this happening, especially right after what happened to Kyrie Jackson. I see this as just dumb. You got to be more responsible than that.
Yeah, no question about that. I mean, you can't compare, the two incidents naturally with Kyrie Jackson and what happened at the vigil as well was just incredibly tragic. I have a vigil for those three, people who died, and, to have more fatalities and injuries at the vigil was just completely tragic. But in terms of Jordan Addison, you got to be smarter than that. I don't know what sort of oversight, was done in the offseason from the team's perspective and trying to keep him out of trouble. I mean, I know these are grown men. These are young men, but they're grown men. So you can't babysit them all summer, but something has to change clearly.
Yeah, what I think about this, and there's a classic. I mean, you're making millions. Uber, get a private driver, you can afford it. But the most simple thing of it all, whatever he's doing, wherever he's driving, at that point, leave your white Rolls Royce, wherever you are, out to eat, out, at a bar, who cares? You have to be, like you said, Adam. Yeah, he's second year in the league, young man, but like a grown adult nonetheless. When you're second you get your license, you have to know better than this. And the timing couldn't be worse at all. For him to take that risk, take that gamble, and do that after what just happened to one of his teammates, you said it. I think the whole Vikings organization has to step up to educate their players, also give them the resources to avoid making this same mistake. Sticking with football, we'll go to the Patriots. Matthew Judon doesn't like reports that he won't play this season under his current contract. There was a report that came out from a local journalist here in New England saying, hey, Judon doesn't want to play under this. His 1 year, $6.5 million base salary left on his deal, and he won't play under it. Matthew Judon came out with this tweet: before y'all get on my ass, I didn't say that at all. Don't let them make me the villain. I like Judon getting straight to the point, going right to X to voice this and say, hey, I didn't say I wouldn't play. Don't make it seem like it's a me thing.
Yeah, looking at this tweet, all I could think of was Step Brothers. Y'all don't say that.
Yes.
That's kind of what I thought of when I saw this tweet. But anyway, yeah, I mean, who knows, right? I mean, he may have said that to somebody. He may have said, hey, I'm not going to play under this deal. There's no way. But now that it's out in the open, he said, well, wait a minute. I am going to play. I was just, maybe it was in the heat of the moment type of thing, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, you can't blame a guy. He's probably upset. He probably wants to get paid. He does want to get paid, and may have said something to somebody and it got out. And once it's out, you kind of think about, right? I mean, haven't you done that before where you've said something, sort of off the cuff, and then you sort of take a step back, say, I shouldn't have said that. So maybe that's the case. Judon's a great guy, it seems, in terms of, coming back from an injury. That's going to be something to watch. But he's been sort of trying to recruit players on social media, trying to get players to come to New England and play for the Patriots. So he likes it here. So I think he wants to work out a deal. Hopefully they get something done before the season begins. But if they don't, I'm sure he will play. He'll come to training camp. I don't think we'll have a holdout situation. It doesn't seem like it. Again, you can't try to recruit players to come to New England, say this is a great place to play, and then not go through the process of training camp and preseason and all those things. So I think he'll be out there. Hopefully they reach a deal of some kind.
That's what I think too when I see this. Like, did he say it? I bet he did. Did he really mean it? No. It could just be in conversation. And there's that point of building up trust. Whoever he was talking to that got word out to be on a podcast, for that person to put it out, they believed it from a trusted source. And for Matt Judon, he could have just been saying it to say it. That's probably his true feelings. I'm not going to play on that contract, but when it comes to it, he doesn't want to leave his teammates out to dry and will perform because at the same time, when healthy, he's played at a high level for the Patriots. Yes, he's 32 years old, but if he performs well, then hits free agency, he can get a high payday for a championship team, or at best for him, he plays for the Patriots under this deal midway through the season, depending where the Pats are lying in the standings. Maybe they trade Matt Judon, give him to a team. They get another draft pick in return. That team takes him on as a rental, and maybe they extend him as well. It wouldn't be the first time we've seen that happen. It won't be the last. For him, in his best interest, no matter what, in a contract year, is to play. But we know, like he did last season, where he did his hold in all throughout training camp, he does want to get some guaranteed money, probably get a couple years added to take care of him through his year 33, 34 season. I don't doubt he said it, but I also wouldn't doubt that he'll show up and play. It made me think of a while back, someone tweeted that, man, the Patriots better give Matt Judon an extension. And he replied to the tweet, I don't think that's about to happen. So I think he knows where he stands between himself and the Patriots front office. All right, finally, Red Sox. Big draft yesterday for them, taking Braden Montgomery, 12th overall, an outfielder. Coming out of Texas A&M, had 27 home runs for the Aggies last season. And in MLB, there's a 20 to 80 grading scale for the strengths of a prospect. He had a 70 grade arm, 60 grade power, and that could be seen as 80 and 70, depending on what source you go to for your prospect notes. But switch hitter, does really good as a lefty, which you love to hear for Fenway, and just 21 years old. This is big for the Red Sox, where they've gone back-to-back college draft picks. Last year, Kyle Teal, now Braden Montgomery. And I think the simple thing they did here, those guys being the best player available, because Montgomery was expected to go top 10 at him, fell to them at 12, and they added another good prospect to their farm system.
First outfielder they've drafted since Andrew Benintendi. Mm-hmm. And, you talk about the upside with this guy. There's also character stuff as well. Some nice quotes from some analysts out there talking about this just being a high character guy as well, which you love to have in your organization as a young player coming up. Also getting some comparisons to Carlos Beltran, which I think you'd love to see that materialize right here within the Red Sox system over the years. So we'll see how it plays out. But the other thing too, George, I mean, they had another pick last night, which I think is sort of intriguing, in Peyton Toll, big left-hander that they got in the second round, 6'6", incredible extension as you would expect for someone that size, throws hard, somebody 13.8 Ks per 9, was 11th in Division I in strikeouts. I think that's eyebrow raising. Those are some things that you can work with, right? And you talk about pitching prospects within the Sox system. We talk a lot about position players. You don't talk about the pitching as much. And this is the highest draft pick that the Red Sox have taken a pitcher with since Tanner Houck in 2017 when they took him in the first round. So you love to see that. So yeah, while Montgomery is the player that they picked 12th overall and has a lot of upside, and I think a lot of excitement surrounds him. Keep an eye on Peyton Toll as well as a pitching prospect who could turn into something pretty good if he has the raw talent, which you start with that. And then you see how coachable he is and see if they can play to his strengths. And again, the Red Sox revamped their pitching department at the major league level. It's something that, we've seen results at the major league level. It trickles down through the farm system as well. So that'll be something to watch.
I think that's the best part he made right there. That's what I was thinking. With Craig Breslow now leading this front office, this team, and how they're going to revamp the farm system, continue to do so. It's in a great spot right now. We've seen firsthand the effect that Andrew Bailey and Craig Breslow have had on the pitchers at the major league level. Same thing. Get someone like that has the raw attributes and power you want. Now you mold them in to be the pitcher that we have seen succeed at a high level all throughout the Sox rotation, all throughout the Red Sox bullpen. Two great draft picks for them. as they continue to plan towards the future. And I like the link you say, a little Tanner Houck comparison to there. Houck, of course, was it 2017 out of Missouri? You see Tanner Houck. We've seen Kyle Teal blast his way through the minors, continue to progress through, and it seems like he could be ahead of his ETH in the major league level. And we talk about a guy like Braden Montgomery as well. So a lot of great college prospects now in Major League Baseball, which I think is huge for the game as a whole, but it's good to see the Red Sox not overlook what the college system is here in the States to get prospects from there as well. All right, let's get into the accolades we got midway through the season for the Red Sox. 53-42 record, 4.5 games back out of first place in the AL East. This is a team that has the best record in MLB since May 19, going 31-18. And at May 19, there were 14 games off first. Like I just said, now just 4.5 games back of winning the division, right there in the wild card race. Had a great weekend series with themselves against the Royals. But let's go through who some of the best players have been for this team. Adam, I want to start with the best hitter. In your opinion, who has been the best bat for the Red Sox so far in 2024?
It's got to be Rafael Devers. It has to be. And it's funny. Devers sort of flew under the radar. I don't think anymore, right? Because he's been on an absolute heater. He has 9 home runs in his last 21 games. Some of the numbers over the last couple of months are ridiculous for him. But I think for a while, there was so much discussion about Jarren Duran and how incredible he's been, and some of the young players who have emerged, like David Hamilton has played well. We talked a lot about Connor Wong, who was on a tear. We've talked a ton about Ceddanne Rafaela and even Tyler O'Neill, who started off white hot. I think those players sort of stole the spotlight for a while. And then you sort of look at Devers and you say, wow, look at these numbers. I mean, he's having a career year offensively, and he's had some pretty good years in the big leagues. He goes into the break with 23 home runs. He's on the doorstep of having an OPS of 1,000. I mean, and then you saw what he did. You mentioned the weekend series against the Royals, a huge series for the Red Sox going into the break against a team that, they had a game lead on going into the weekend for the final wild card spots. They dropped the series opener, which, by the way, I don't know what the deal is with series openers with the Red Sox, but it has been a problem. It's been that and left-handed starters. They can't seem to figure that part out. They're starting to win some more games at home, which is good. But for whatever reason, series openers have been a thorn in their side. They're 12-19, and so to see them drop the series opener against the Royals almost kind of makes sense based on what they've done throughout the season. But anyway, I digress. You see Devers, do what he did in on Saturday, hitting the home run, passing Jason Varitek on the Red Sox all-time home run list, and then in the first inning, wasting no time. That ball he hit on Sunday was the hardest hit home run that he's hit all season long. Second hardest hit in terms of exit velocity that he's had all season long. Two of the 4 hits that he had, two of the 2 hits that he had yesterday were 2 of the hardest hit balls, 2 of the top 4 all season long. And the guy has a bad shoulder. The guy is not going to play in the All-Star game because his shoulder's banged up. He broke a seat, George, out in right field. It was a 439-foot home run, 114.7 miles per hour off the bat, and he broke a seat. People were ducking for cover. It was unbelievable. So he is locked in right now. Quietly was having the best offensive season of his career. Now I think the cat's out of the bag. I think people realize, oh man, this guy is having one hell of a season. So that's my pick, Rafael Devers.
I think it's that close. I'm Devers too. I'm best hitter. I wanted to go out there. I wanted to give it's the popular pick now, Jarren Duran, but when you look at the numbers, you can't deny that Rafi, as he should be, as he's been, because when he's locked in, he's a top 5 hitter in all of baseball. Think about what he did against the Yankees in that series, just absolutely owning them and always elevating his game against a rival. No matter how good, no matter how bad they're playing, he shows up in the best rivalry in Major League Baseball. Then again, in the moment against a great Royals team, and you pointed out how tight they are in the standings. That was the biggest series this weekend in Major League Baseball because one team would have went into the All-Star break with that third and final wild card spot, and the other would be looking on the outside. And luckily, the Red Sox did not relinquish their spot. And Rafi is a huge reason why. His defense has come around, but again, I was thinking Duran, but He's 61 RBI. It's obviously first on the team. 295 batting average is second on the Sox, and a 977 OPS is first. He's 15th in average in all Major League Baseball, 6th in home runs, 17th in RBI, and 5th in OPS. Battling a shoulder injury, has only missed 11 games, and I am someone that will always be critical of Rafael Devers and how these injuries always mount up and how he would miss games, but he is tough through it. He's been their best player. He has owned up to it. And he has been a huge success and a key to why this team of grinders have been able to piece together these wins and been so good since May 19, because they have a guy in the lineup that strikes fear into any pitcher and can change the outcome of any game single-handedly with his bat right there in Rafael Devers. To me, no doubt about it, he was the best hitter. What about best fielder? Who you're saying is the best fielder for the Sox so far this season?
It's got to be Cedar Rafaela. Yeah, I mean, it has to be because of his versatility. And, there was a moment, in the game against the Royals in the finale where I was like, wow, the Red Sox versatility is coming through, because of what happened. Here's how the situation played out. You had Connor Wong pinch hitting, and he was pinch hitting for Wilyer Abreu, right? They went with the matchup against the left-hander, so they wanted to put Wong in there. And so you had to make some adjustments, right? And so you got Wong, and then you got to you need a right fielder. So what they did was they moved over Tyler O'Neill from left to right. They took Cedar and put him in center field. And then what does Cedar do in the ninth inning? He makes an incredible play to gun down the runner at third base. I mean, the guy can make plays at short, at center field, in center field. His sprint speed, you look at some of the advanced metrics, is amongst the top in all of baseball. His arm strength, as we saw on display, is one of the tops in all of baseball at short and in center field. We've had a lot of great center fielders, in Red Sox history. Even when Kike Hernandez was here, I mean, he made some incredible plays out in center field. Jackie Bradley Jr. is the first one that comes to mind, of course, when you think of great defensive center fielders. Cedar Rafaela has done it quickly. He is caught on very quickly. So I got to go with Rafaela. Just an amazing athlete, has made some incredible plays, and the Red Sox outfield as a whole has been one of the best in all of baseball defensively and offensively too. I mean, in terms of Jarren Duran and Tyler O'Neill and when Rafael has been out there. So, and then Wilyer Abreu. So I got to go with Rafaela.
Yeah, 93 RBI between Jarren Duran and Cedar Rafaela, but we're talking defense here. Again, I'm lock in step with you. I follow you on this one. Cedar Rafaela, he's a game saver and a game changer at center field. But to step in and play shortstop when they do need it as well, because this is still a team dealing with their injuries in the middle infield. Trevor Story obviously not going to be there. Vaughn Grissom can't get healthy, can't get his hamstrings right. He's dealing with those down in the minor leagues. But when you have a guy like Cedar Rafaela who would step in and just be reliable at shortstop, I'm not saying he's going to be a gold glover. I'm not going to say he's going to be one of the best shortstops, but a reliable defensive piece there. Then when you move him back to center, he is absolutely need to watch appointment television. Any ball that gets hit out in center field, no matter how hard it is, no matter where it's headed, no matter what it may be, how far it's going, you stop what you're doing and you watch to make sure the finality of the play with Cedar Rafaela, because he could have a web gem at any moment. This is a guy that came in, need to cut down on his strikeouts, has a lot of raw power, but is raw as a hitter. But when it came to his athletic upside in center field, that's what makes him such an exciting prospect. And that's why, to me, he's followed up with it. He's a gold glove caliber center fielder and can be a focal point and a core piece in the Red Sox outfield for years and years to come. They locked him up to that long-term deal right at the beginning of the season, and we see why right away. Getting ahead of his market. Paying a guy where people are like, he hasn't played that much Major League Baseball. You sure you want to pay him now? Well, Craig Breslow and his front office have shown they know what they're doing by getting a guy like Cedar Rafaela, who, when he came up last year, everyone was excited to see what he can do, continued it this season, and he's been a huge factor in why the Sox have been one of the hottest, one of the best, one of the most gritty teams in all of baseball. But I think the best story of this team is all the questions was around their pitching staff and their rotation. Didn't go out and get a huge free agency arm. They got Lucas Giolito, but then he goes down with an injury. When you look at this starting rotation, and keep in mind too, Garrett Whitlock went down early in the season as well. Who do you has been the best starting pitcher for the Red Sox?
It's got to be Brennan Bernardino. Just kidding. He's been the opener a couple of times. I have a feeling his name will come up a little bit later. No, Tanner Houck. It's Tanner Houck. I mean, there's no question. I know it's your guy too. Spoiler alert. But, you can't pick anybody else. He's going to the All-Star game for the first time in his career. This is a player or pitcher rather who, came up and, man, he had some nasty stuff. You look at him, and he got the nickname, the right-handed Chris Sale, right? Because when you got called up, you're seeing the same sort of arm action, you're seeing the same sort of nasty stuff, slider-wise. You see, the fastball was good. It wasn't quite Chris Sale, but everything moved, a ton of movement. Now, when you have a ton of movement, there could be an issue with control. And that was one of the issues with Tanner Houck early on was, trying to harness all of those things, trying to get it in the strike zone because, when a guy like that, is nasty, that's great, but you need to throw strikes at the end of the day. Otherwise, hitters are just going to spit on certain pitches. So then there was a discussion about, is this guy a starter or a reliever? Because he'd come out of the pen, he'd give you a couple innings and he was lights out. He even filled in, in a closer's role for the Red Sox at one point, and he was pretty nasty in that regard. He had trouble third time through the order. That was the big thing. If you look at the metrics, he would see he was pretty nasty, a couple of times through. And then you get to that fifth inning, the lineup turns over for a third time, and all of a sudden those numbers just exploded. But this year, he's really figured it out. He made some mechanical adjustments, and if you look it up, you can find Lenny DiNardo's breakdown of what's different with Tanner Houck. He did a great breakdown on the pregame show earlier this year. Just a minor tweak, and we had talked about it earlier, right? With Craig Breslow, obviously Andrew Bailey, but you also have an entire different pitching department. Director of pitching development is Justin Willard. They've identified a number of things, with Houck and others that have made them better. And, he has just been lights out. His most recent performance against the A's, you're like, oh, it's the Oakland A's. Well, still, I mean, he's been consistent. He's been consistent. 6 shutout innings, his 5th scoreless appearance of the year, a 2.54 ERA. He's in the Cy Young conversation. It's gonna be interesting though with him because he's gonna reach a certain point where he's gonna have the career high in innings, and we'll see how he handles that. But right now, he's one of the best pitchers in all of baseball. It's been a lot of fun to watch, and it's great to see him go to the All-Star game. You got 3 guys selected to the All-Star game, all homegrown talent. And to see somebody, a homegrown talent on the pitching side for the Red Sox is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, Tanner Houck stepped in, and he has been the guy for the Red Sox as their ace, as their starting pitcher this season, which they desperately needed. And Adam, with everything you went through, and you were spot on with it all, he finished last season with a 5 ERA. He's a 2.54 ERA this season, a 1.03 WHIP, and he has been the dude. His sinker, ton of vertical movement, one of the best in all Major League Baseball. Go to Baseball Savant and watch it. If it's blue, it's bad. If it's red, it's good. A lot of red in his sinker, a lot of red in his slider as well. And he's been the anchor to a pitching staff with a 3.61 ERA, which is 5th in Major League Baseball, and a rotation with a 3.56 ERA, which again is 5th in Major League Baseball. For all the props we give of what Andrew Bailey's been able to do to this coaching staff, what Tanner Houck has been able to do to bounce back. When he went down with that face fracture last season after taking a hit right off the face, right back at him in that Yankees series, it was a question of would he ever be able to return to being the starting pitcher he was or the pitcher he was at all? Because who knows how that can affect anybody. And he's just come in and been the dude for this team. And there's that presence you have. Whenever you get the ball in his hands, whatever game may be, how big it is, he has pulled through for them. Adam, I just want to extend the Tanner Houck combo a little bit more. What have you seen, went through the numbers, and we know what Andrew Bailey, the effect has, but what have you seen change for him to change from that guy last year with that 5 ERA to the guy this year who is one of the best pitchers, and like you said, could be in the Cy Young conversation when it's all said and done after 162 games have come and gone?
Control. That's what it is. Throwing secondary pitches for strikes, and I think that's been one of the biggest reasons for his success is that, if a guy can't control certain pitches, the hitters are going to, they're going to be wise to that. Right. And they're going to say, all right, you know what? He can't throw a slider for strikes. He can't throw a splitter for strikes. I'm just going to sit on that sinker. And that's what we've seen really, with Brian Bayo at times, where he can't throw, he doesn't have the command. And so you've seen that 97, 98 mile an hour sinker. The batting average against on that is like 350 or something like that at this point. The reason for that is not because it's necessarily a bad pitch. It's because it's the only one, he's throwing for strikes consistently. And that was the issue with Tanner Houck. And it's been a big reason why he's been successful. And the split finger is a pitch that as a starting pitcher in the major leagues, you need 3 pitches, right? Mm-hmm. And so if you got 2 working, that's great. But if you don't have that third one, that's not, you're not long for this world as a starter. And we talked about the third time through conversation with Tanner Houck, and third time through, it's just like, all right, you know what, if you only have to choose between 2 pitches, you got a 50-50 shot, right? But if you throw a third, it's just math, right? Mm-hmm. You throw a third pitch in the conversation, it's like, all right, I gotta watch. I'm not sure what he's gonna do here, so that's something. And you know what? The other thing too is it's like you can get hitters to expand that way, right? Because it's like, all right, if you got a couple of pitches that were nasty, and all of a sudden that slider's coming through, even if it's not a strike, they're gonna chase. Mm-hmm. So that's been the biggest difference for Tanner Houck, just the ability to throw strikes.
And I think the fact that he's been in the conversation, even to be the AL starting pitcher, has been amazing as well. All right, now let's go to the pen. You alluded to it. You brought up Brendan Bernardino. That is my pick. But who for you has been the best guy out of the bullpen for the Red Sox this season?
Well, first of all, I love Brendan Bernardino, and I love the story of Brendan Bernardino and playing in 100 different leagues in 100 different countries, and then finding his niche with the Red Sox, and then facing more adversity this year. I don't want to steal your thunder too much, but facing more adversity this year, starting the year, in the minors. But the guy, for me, is the closer. Kenley Jansen. And, this is a guy that they brought in last year, signed him to a 2-year deal. They had a closing problem in 2022. We talked about Tanner Houck sliding into the closer role for a little bit because they didn't have one. You bring in Kenley, and yeah, he had some speed bumps last year. He started off red hot. He picked up the milestone save in Atlanta, the 400th save, and, went through a rut last year. But this year, he's come back. He's got an ERA just over 2. He finally allowed a run on Sunday against the Royals, but that was because he was out for a second inning. He came out and he pitched 2 innings, 2-inning save for Kenley Jansen. I think it's interesting too because you think a guy who and some of the comments that had been made through the media, or at least reported comments that Kenley made about, maybe wanting a trade, maybe wanting to go to a contender, being in a position where he can close out games and pick up saves because, this is a guy that's going back and forth with Craig Kimbrell on the all-time saves list. And, he wants to climb up the ranks, and so he gets a better chance at the Hall of Fame, right? And so I think it's, it's a reflection of him as a professional that he's gone out there, he's gotten the job done yesterday, or Sunday, I should say, giving him 2 innings, going through some adversity, right? He had the, lights out in the 8th inning, struck out the side, and the 9th inning comes out, lets up a run, and was able to persevere and pick up the save. So that's my guy, Kenley Jansen.
No, I love that pick. He's been nails as a closer. I went Brendan Bernardino, just switch it up here, but I think what he's done with the 1.69 ERA, and you mentioned it with him going back down to the minors this season, who knows how any pitcher, especially a position where you need to have confidence, may handle that, where they think they finally made it, finally settled down on the Major League Baseball level, and then they're back in the minors. But for him to bounce back with that, of low whip as well, and his pitches, 80th in barrel percentage, 80th percentile in barreled balls, 83rd percentile in hard hit balls as well. He's just been so huge as a setup guy. For Kenley to come out and close it, I got to give the props to Brendan Bernardino. All right, breakout player. This is the one that gets fun here. Who's been the breakout star for you this season, and a team that has broken out and overachieved so much more than anyone expected?
So I think most people would probably say Jarren Duran. And I
being one
get
of them.
that, and I understand that. Some people might even say down Rafaela, and I get that. I understand that. But my guy is Wilyer Abreu because I don't think many people thought. I mean, he wasn't like a lock to be the starting right fielder for this team. I don't think people thought like, hey, you know what, Wilyer Abreu is gonna be the guy this year. He's gonna take over for Alex Verdugo, no problem whatsoever, right? Did people think that? I don't think a ton of people thought that. And so this is his rookie year, So he came up last year. He didn't have enough at bats to qualify. This is actually his rookie year, and he is amongst the best in baseball amongst rookies in the American League in like virtually every single offensive category. And he's got an absolute howitzer out there in right field. I mean, what a steal, right? You want to go back a couple of years to this trade of Christian Vasquez, getting Wilyer Abreu and Manuel Valdez for Christian Vasquez, and you got two contributors at the major league level, and you got Wilyer Abreu as your starting right fielder. I think that ended up being a pretty good deal.
I love the Wilyer Abreu pick. I love that one all the way. I think we saw the flashes last year continued this season. For me, I just had to go with the popular one on this one. I have to give the props to Jarren Duran. This is a guy that did great last season, but now is like a 5-tool player, has been one of the best players in all of baseball with zero hyperbole, zero embellishment there at all. I mean, he's up there in WAR. He's top 6 in Major League Baseball. For the Red Sox, he's top 3 in every major hitting statistical category. He's a guy that can finish in the 20-30 club with 20 or more home runs, 30 or more stolen bases. He's been a grinder, someone that gets on base. All the bags that he's stolen puts a pressure on pitchers, and it helps the rest of this lineup continue to break out. And I'm just going to say Jarren Duran is all time in the vibes factor, which any team that feels as special as the Red Sox do right now, they need a guy like Duran. He looks like he has stepped up to be a leader in the clubhouse, on the field as well. Where Rafi is a dude that leads by his play, Jarren Duran is the one that keeps it light all around for the team and has been so essential for all their success. From a guy that came up and as a rookie really struggled, to see him messing with his batting stance with his hands every single game, every single at bat it seemed like, to where he is now and played every single game in the first half and wears that as a badge of honor. I just got to give the biggest breakout to me is Jarren Duran because he's gotten that much better for this Red Sox team. All right, Adam, that was plenty of baseball talk. Now we'll go to the pitch, from pitchers to the pitch. Talk about both the Copa America tournament and the Europe tournament wrapping up. But the big story is, yes, Argentina won the Copa American tournament, but last night at Hard Rock Stadium was one of the weirdest sights I've ever seen in sports. The match was delayed 3 separate times to start, 82 minutes later after originally was planned, and that's because fans were lining up at Hard Rock Stadium 3 p.m. to get in. The gates opened up at 5 p.m., but it got busier and busier up until 6. Keep in mind, this was a game that was supposed to start at 8:15, right? It got so busy, and what the fans basically did is they bum rushed the gates to the point where people getting suffocated, getting trapped, and there was actual fear for their safety. So what they were trying to do at Hard Rock Stadium is Miami-Dade County Police making this call of open the gates, let some people in, relieve the pressure, close them again. But then that wasn't going to work either. So basically they said, we have to let them all in or else people are going to get crushed. There are people dealing with heat exhaustion, people passing out. Luckily, it sounded like no major injuries, but you did see the sights that were scary. This stadium getting absolutely wrecked. Never seen anything like it. Like what happened to this escalator you see on your screen right there. But fans were getting crushed. People passing out from the suffocation, heat exhaustion, police threatening with tear gas and tasers. That's how out of hand this entire crowd got. And then finally, the game was able to kick off. But you had people, Adam as well, that paid thousands of dollars to get to their seats. They couldn't even do that because someone would be in their seat. And what they tried to do is the police would go up to people in the stadium after. If they didn't have a ticket, kick them out. I mean, this is just wild. And now fans sneaking in through the air ducts. Just insane the levels of what we saw. Hard Rock Stadium was not prepared at all for this entire scenario, as we can obviously see. Man, what did you think watching this unfold last night, Adam?
An absolute travesty on so many levels. I mean, just watching this video is just appalling to see just the lack of respect for each other, to see people trampling each other to get into a soccer game. I mean, that's just disgusting. And in terms of being prepared, I mean, again, like, I guess nobody could expect this, but you have to be prepared for this. I mean, again, I'm no law enforcement expert. I'm no security expert. I have no idea what I'm talking about when it comes to that kind of thing, but I'm a common sense person. And I'm thinking, well, common sense would say you have to be 1,000 times more prepared and 1,000 times more equipped to handle a scenario that could unfold like that, even if it doesn't. All right, 99% chance that it doesn't happen that way, but that 1% you have to be prepared for. And the fact that they weren't clearly prepared for that is an absolute travesty. So many levels, as I started out the conversation saying, it's a travesty on so many levels. Security, unpreparedness, and then just to see the ugliness of people trying to get into a soccer game, trampling over people, destroying property, just an ugly, ugly scene.
Yeah, there was reading reports of people with their kids, like literally getting to the gate and handing their kids to law officers because they were feared of them getting crushed. And obviously those would be the ones who get trampled. It's the South American Football Confederation is the one that organized the entire Copa American tournament. So they were the ones in charge of the logistics at Hard Rock Stadium. And they absolutely failed. Like, you're right, Adam. Now, this is a stadium in 2026 will host 7 matches in the World Cup. What I think with that one, I'm saying, how can they be prepared to host a World Cup when they can't even handle this tournament? That one, one of the rare times I'll give props to FIFA because that's just an evil, evil organization. But FIFA will have the resources and the planning and the logistics in hand where they're going to probably, I would say, set up checkpoints. Like a mile outside of Hard Rock Stadium, you have to show you have a ticket to get past some security, then to get to the gates to prevent this from happening and just have it be more organized because this is a stadium. You see that, and this is a reflection on America as a whole hosting a big tournament like this in their football stadiums, just not being prepared to host this many people. This is a stadium that's going to have 4 group stage matches, around a 32-game quarterfinals, and the third place game. You hope FIFA and Hard Rock Stadium, and obviously the police, the local law enforcement, whoever runs it in Miami-Dade County, they all wake up to be more prepared because when it comes around in 2026, it's only going to be worse. I hope they learn
this
from
can
their
happen.
mistakes.
Not to cut you off, but this can happen anywhere, right? And I think this is a lesson.
I was thinking of Gillette Stadium.
Yeah, not only from Hard Rock Stadium, but every venue like this. Just take it, please. If anybody who's listening to this that has anything to do with this kind of security and law enforcement, all those things, please take heed of this warning. Like, don't let this happen anywhere else.
Yeah, I completely agree. I was just thinking of what is Gillette Stadium going to do, but there's going to be that extra preparation, those extra layers to prevent this from happening. You want to have a great tournament, you want to be successful, do it, but fan safety has to be the priority because they're lucky. They are so lucky. This didn't end with more serious injuries, especially to all the kids attending the game. All right, moving on from Copa. Team USA, they beat Australia on Monday. They play Croatia next. Anthony Edwards, LeBron James, Joel Embiid, 34 points combined to start. Then Devin Booker, Anthony Davis, Bam Adebayo, 43 points off the bench. This is a team. We're going to keep this one quick, Adam. It's just, you see the physicality. Australia just overmatched. It's this, watching this American team, I don't think a single game will be decided by less than 15 points. They're going to blow out all their opponents. It was a close one against Australia at the end, but this wasn't a full-strength Team USA either. They're just going to run through this tournament. That's all I'm getting whenever I see all this.
They should.
Right?
I mean, they should. If they don't, it's a disaster. I mean, there's no other way around that. You can't assemble this group of talent on the floor and expect to lose any games in this tournament. And if they do, I mean, it's just an absolute travesty. Now, the rest of the world is catching up to the USA, right? Since 92, everyone knows, right? Dream team. And the rest of the world is caught up. But not, look at this roster. I mean, it's so stacked and ridiculous. Like, there's no way. Like, Canada's the closest one probably to the USA, right, in terms of talent on the roster. You could look at Serbia too, Jokic, and and France with Gobert and Wemby, but like, there's no one close to the US. They should roll in this tournament.
Yeah, Canada perimeter defense is close, so they don't have the bigs. France has Wemby and Gobert, so 2 7-footers. They have the shooters that can keep up. I think that'll be the closest one because the amount of shots that Wemby erases around the rim. But end of the day, the pure talent. I mean, they have Joel freaking Embiid now playing for Team USA. So you have one of the best bigs in the world on your team, along with the best talent and shooters. To me, it's going to be a wrap in this tournament. It'll still be interesting to watch, but it's going to be nothing but blowouts, in my opinion. So all this talk of the Olympics, Summer Olympics around Team USA, I want to get your Mount Rushmore, Adam. We're talking Summer Olympians, your top 4 Summer Olympians all time in Team USA history.
All right, so take this with a grain of salt. I grew up as a child of the late '80s and early '90s, right? So I used to buy Wheaties boxes, with certain Olympians on the cover, and you get attached, to some of these athletes because this is what you remember as a kid. So I got to go back to Jackie Joyner-Kersee. All the way back in the day with the heptathlon and just becoming one of the greatest female athletes of all time. Michael Phelps obviously is on there. I mean, he has like 24 medals to his name, just absolutely ridiculous. What he did in the pool. Simone Biles getting more current, of course, with what she's achieving, and at this age too. By the way, as a U.S. gymnast, that's incredible what she's doing in her late 20s now. And then I go back to Mary Lou Retton. I talked about the Wheaties boxes. You think of what she accomplished. Becoming the first woman, I believe, to win the all-around a gold medal. She was the first woman to win the all-around in the floor routine, the gold medal. So she at 4'9", she was America's sweetheart, from '84, for many, many years. So that's my Mount Rushmore. I know there were others who won more medals that some of these athletes did, but again, just the significance of what they accomplished at the time, to me, puts them on that list.
Yeah, I'm with you. When you think of all-time great Olympians, you think of the moments, how when the world is literally watching, how they rose to the occasion and just had literal worlds and countries in the palm of their hands. It all starts and stops with Michael Phelps. To me, the greatest Summer Olympian of all time. 23 gold medals. Next closest of anybody. Any country is 9. And it was just such a dominant swimmer. 2008 was his breakout Olympic Games, of course, because everything he did. But this is a guy literally built in a lab where you would want the perfect swimmer, this extra lung capacity. His body literally
back ever.
Right? His body literally only generated half the lactic acid that a normal human like us does. He was born and literally gifted to be an all-time Olympian athlete, let alone swimmer. Then I go to Katie Ledecky, 7 gold medals in 5 different disciplines. To me, that is so impressive. And she has a world records in the 800-meter freestyle and women's 1,500-meter freestyle. You mentioned Simone Biles as well. 4th ever American woman to make 3 Olympic teams in gymnastics. She's tied with Shannon Miller right now for most medals by an American Olympic gymnast. And she's very likely to break that record and get gold because even in her last games in Tokyo, she suffered from the twisties, had her withdraw. She was still the favorite to win gold in 4 of the 6 potential disciplines for her. So she has his 7 total medals to her name. She got 4 gold medals in her first Olympic Games back in 2016. The fact that she's still doing it is so impressive. And the last spot for me, I go to the great Carl Lewis. 4 gold medals in 1984, added 5 more throughout his career, and he's one of 6 Olympians ever to win gold in the same event 4 straight Olympic Games, the longevity, the dominance, what he was able to do. And again, someone that did it in multiple disciplines. To me, that's what makes him and those 4 overall all-time great Olympians. I just love you pointed out, and that's fine. Let's be victims of the moments where we grew up watching the Olympics, and it's what made us fall in love with the Summer and Winter Games. That is Phelps. That is Simone Biles. That is Katie Ledecky for me all the way. But then when I see what Carl Lewis achieved, I just can't deny his greatness there.
Yeah, those are great picks. And again, I don't think you really have a wrong answer, in this conversation. But, and I also go back to the 92 Olympic basketball team, right? The greatest basketball team ever assembled. I know we're doing individual athletes here, but just to see that team out on the floor. I was 12 years old in 1992. I mean, this was just the most incredible thing to see, Magic and Bird playing together. It was Larry Bird's last hurrah because he had retired. Magic Johnson obviously had retired. And to see Michael Jordan, taking the torch from those guys and being just incredible. And then the roster itself, it was a travesty that Shaq wasn't on the team. I remember Christian Laettner. That was a big deal at the time where they picked Christian Laettner as the college guy and not Shaq. Should have been Shaq. That would have been fun to see. But those are my memories, as a kid, just watching the 92 team just dominate in Barcelona. It was awesome.
Yeah, that was the first time they were like, all right, NBA guys, you guys go out and play because we got to win this gold. This is a sport we should be dominating. They opened up the floodgates, and they've just followed through every time since. I think that 92 team, I wasn't born until 2 years later, but you can't talk about the history of basketball in America and talk about the legacy, like you said, of all those superstars that came through the league, whether at the end of their career or on their ascension to the top. You can't talk about them and their careers without those 92 games. But that's what, and I like about both our Mount Rushmores, you point out the individuals because there's such stacked teams in basketball, and yeah, maybe it's unfair for us to consider that, but it's all about the individual performers. That's what really steps out in the Olympics to me, like in gymnastics and swimming, and that's what made the Mount Rushmore up. But Adam, I gotta say, it was fantastic Mount Rushmore on your part, my friend.
Yeah, you too, man. Just Carl Lewis, not on the Mount Rushmore of national anthems. I don't know if you've ever seen that clip before, George, but I recommend that you YouTube Carl Lewis national anthem.
I will do so. I think I've seen it. I'm going to do it again anyway, just as a refresher. And next time I'm on the chat with you, I'll bring it up. That's it for this edition of Boston Has Entered the Chat. Thank you for listening, watching, wherever you do. Make sure to like, subscribe, rate, review, wherever you get your podcast, and follow us on YouTube and Twitch as well. George Balekji from the PNC Bank Studio. He's Adam Pellerin. We'll see you guys next time.